Okay, step number 9, we are going to be attaching our top to our table, and it's important to understand that we are not gluing our top on here. So definitely do not put any glue on this and clamp it on there. Instead, we're going to be attaching our top using some screws and some little hardware pieces called figure eights. And obviously, if you were to glue your top on there, it would stick on there. The problem is, this being a solid board here and a large board, it's going to want to expand and contract with the moisture in the air. And if you glue your top on there, as this board wants to expand a little bit, it's going to be not able to go anywhere and it'll crack. Or it could crack. And so instead we're going to just use some screws. That way, if it does expand or contract, the screws can actually bend and move with the movement of the wood, and it's just fine. And so definitely do not glue your top on. And if you look on your paper, I've got a list of all the supplies that you'll need, and everything that you're going to need as far as hardware goes is going to be found in this little box right here. It's the one that has the S-wing on it. So we've got all of our Forstner bits, you've got all your figure eights, and again these are little hardware pieces we're going to use to attach your top with. You'll need 4 of those. We've got these little small screws, the 5/8 inch long screws, you'll need those. And then we've also got some longer screwdriver bits to attach everything with. The cordless drills are also in the tool cabinet. This box, by the way, is also in that left tool cabinet. And we've got 2 different types of drills here. One of them is just a regular cordless drill that we can just put some drill bits into. The other one is an impact driver, and this is the one that's going to hold the screwdriver bit, and that just snaps in place there. For that. So we'll put the Forstner bit into the cordless drill, and then our impact driver will hold the Phillips driver bit. One quick thing about the cordless drills, it has some numbers up on top. That's a torque setting, and you actually want that all the way on the picture of the drill bit. And then it has a speed control, either a number 1 or number 2. 2 is going to be a lot faster than the 1, and you can go either one on that one, but I would definitely make sure the torque setting's set on the drill bit here. If you put it in reverse, push that little button in, the arrow's pointing backwards, that's reverse, and you hold on to this black part, it'll open up the jaws of the chuck. If you put it in forward, hold on to this little black part, it'll close the jaws of the chuck. And so we can open that up, get our Forstner bit put in there, put it in forward, and then tighten that up real tight. And on your figure eights here, you'll notice a couple things about them. First off, one of the holes has like a little indentation. That's for the head of the screw to go down into. If you flip the figure eight over, the opposite hole will have that indent. And so you want the screw to go into the part that's indented there. Obviously one part of the figure eight's larger than the other, and that larger part is going to be attached to our table. And then the smaller part we're going to go up through there to attach the top onto. And I line up the figure eight right on this very middle indent right here on the inside edge of your table. And honestly, it doesn't matter where these go. You're just going to need 4 of them and space them out. I'd recommend go about 2 inches from your leg here is where you're going to attach these. So 2 inches from here, here, and then here and here on these longer sides. If you want to put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here, that's totally fine too. It doesn't really matter where you place these, but again, just spread them out about every 2 inches or so. And again, I'm lining it up where the middle part of the figure eight is on this inside edge, and then I'm just going to trace this circle inside the figure eight there so I know where to drill. And if you want to take a tape measure and do this, you can, or you can just eyeball it. I'm just going again about 2 inches away and just tracing that little circle. It's not centered, but we want to have the middle indent with this inside edge of our table there. So about right there, 2 inches roughly. Trace them. Then we're going to take our Forstner bit, and the very point of the Forstner bit is going to line up where we drew our circles here. And it's very easy to go too deep on this, so we got to be careful not to go too deep. I'm just lining that up centered, and we're just going to go a little bit And then I would check it. We only want to drill down as deep as this is thick here. And so we're not going very deep into our board. So just a little bit, and I just place it in there. I'm just kind of run my finger across. I can feel that my figure 8 is sticking up just a little bit still from the edge there. So I need to go a little deeper. So go back in there. And then once you get it in there where it's just basically flush, where it doesn't stick up any extra, that's how deep we want to go. So you can run your finger across, and that feels good there. If you accidentally go way too deep, it's not a problem just to drill a new hole somewhere else next to it. You're not going to see that. You're only going to see the side here once the top's on here. But do your best to try to get these pretty much exactly the same depth that those are. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of these drilled. Deeper. That's pretty good there. Okay, to attach them, again, you're going to want to make sure we just go into the larger part of the figure 8, and that little screw is just going to go through the hole there, and we'll just suck it down. You don't want to screw them in too tight that it's going to strip the screw or anything like that, but suck them down tight enough that it holds on there. You notice I'm putting this on the whole table on the ground. It's a little easier than standing up on a bench top. And again, it does matter which part of the figure 8 we go through. So look at the side that has the taper for the head of the screw to fit into, so it'll fit in like that way. Now these things can also shift and move on us, so if this was crooked or whatever, you can just kind of shift it over. And the purpose of that is so as your top expands and contracts, these whole figure 8 things can move instead of the top cracking. Okay, once you got the 4 attached to your table, go ahead and attach to your top. Again, I would make sure you have some kind of carpet piece or something down so we don't accidentally scratch up our top as we're doing this. And as you place this on here, we want this to have equal amounts of overhang on all 4 sides. So you're going to have to do some guesswork at first, kind of just eyeball where you think it goes, and then go ahead and take a tape measure and measure your distance from your side over to the edge of the top. I've got about 2.5 inches there, and I'm looking on this side, and hey, that was pretty good guesswork, 2.5 right there. But if it was off, we could shift it. Now don't forget to do this side as well. I've got about 2 1/8 on that side, and right there I'm 1.5, so I'm way off on that side. So I'm going to adjust this where I need to until I can get this exactly in the middle. So I got 1 3/4 on both sides there. I'm going to recheck this. 2.5. So we're pretty good here. If you need to do little small adjustments, you can. But get this top situated that it's exactly centered. And take measurements on several spots here, making sure that everything's perfect. If we can. Once you're happy with it and you got it centered where you want it, we'll go ahead and tighten the screws down. And this is why we wanted to have that longer screwdriver bit so we can come down into this table and screw these on. And you'll hear that impact driver do that clicking noise. That means it's driving that screw in. There we go. One more. Okay, we got that top on there. It's not coming off. So very last, before you get my signature on this, I would do one last final check for sanding. You know, maybe it got scratched a little bit in the process of attaching your top, or for whatever reason you missed a spot that you didn't see before. So go back and just triple check any last final sanding. And then we also need to check to make sure it doesn't wobble. And you're going to be tempted to put this on a bench top to see if it wobbles. And it might have a little wobble, but my bench tops are not flat. So don't use my bench top as a judgment to see if your table has a wobble or not. And the floor also is not flat. So don't take it to the floor or the bench top. We want to take our table over to maybe a metal surface on a machine or the black area of the table saw or something that we know is perfectly flat to see if this has a wobble. Okay, so I'm just coming over to the table saw because it has this nice metal surface that I know is perfectly flat. If I set my table down on there, now I can check to see if it wobbles at all if I put some pressure. Now this one actually is sitting pretty dang perfect. I don't know whose table this is. Oh, it says Mr. Carl's been on that. Oh, yeah, it's perfect. So if it wasn't perfect, if it wobbled at all, we would go and sand the bottom of whatever leg or legs are too long. And so if it did wobble at all, we'll go over to the disc sander and just carefully sand down the very bottom of the leg. You got to be very careful on this that we don't snap a leg off or anything like that. This table, again, it's sitting pretty perfect, but yours might have some wobble, and I can help you get rid of that wobble. Okay, now if it did need to be sanded, you can come over to this disc sander here, and I would just bump the little leg into the side of the disc sander, whichever ones are too long, and go very, very gentle on this. Don't want to press very hard, and we'll just get it till it sits nice and flat. Another nice flat surface is this spindle sander, which is right next to the disc sander, and so you can put your table up on top of that, on that metal surface. Just do a quick check to see if that's flat. Once it's all sanded, perfectly sitting flat, no wobble, top's attached, come get my signature.